There are lots of effects in After Effects that can generate artwork from nothing but a blank layer. In this example, we'll add some lightning to an illustration. Now, if you're following along, we'll be in folder 1 of the Chapter 3 folder in the exercise files. And here I have two After Effects project files. The AEP file is for those using the 2018 Creative Cloud version of After Effects, and the AEPX file can be imported into earlier versions of After Effects. And since I'm using the Creative Cloud version 2018 version of After Effects, I'll open the AEP file. And so now once you have the file opened or imported, you'll see in the project panel, we have a folder called Linked Art. You'll also see we have a series of ping files imported from the assets folder in the exercise files. And there's also a composition showing up inside of the Linked Art folder. Down in the timeline panel, you'll also see that composition showing up here on the top layer, in addition to some additional ping files. Now, this is the first time in this course that we've seen a composition nested inside of another composition. And as I mentioned in the introduction videos, this works a lot like smart objects in Photoshop or symbols in Illustrator, where if I come down here and double click on this composition, we can see that this contains another timeline with another set of layers. And so here we can see all of the ping files that relate to the front buildings. Now to close this, I'll come down here and click on the X, and I'll leave open the original composition called Kaiju Project. And before I continue, I would like to take a minute to thank Race Bird, who gave me written permission to use and include this illustration in this course. So thanks again, Race. And now to begin adding lightning to Race's illustration, let's come up to the layer menu. Let's go to New and let's choose Solid. And this is the same thing we did earlier in Chapter 2 with the radio waves. So inside of Solid Settings, let's come in here and name this Lightning. We'll make sure that this is set to the comp size, and then we'll come down and click OK. That's going to add a new layer with the solid in the timeline panel, and we'll also see a new folder in the project panel named Solids with our Lightning solid. So now let's go back to the effects and presets, and in the search field, let's start typing the word lightning. And we're looking for lightning-vertical under this synthetics group. And let's click and drag this and apply this to the solid in our composition. And now, just like we've seen earlier in the course with the shatter and radio waves effects, the lightning effect is also animated. So if we come down to the timeline panel and jog the playhead, we can see that this animates over time. So I'll come down here and bring the playhead back to 0. Now, if we go over to the effect controls, we can see an origin property here. This controls where the lightning starts. So if I click and drag the horizontal here, you can see the target just outside of my comp area. So to make this easier to see, I'll zoom out to 50%. Then I'll come back here and move this some more. If I move the y-axis, we can move the origin inside of the composition area. So I'll leave this outside of the composition area, so y is a negative number. You can also come over here and grab this and move it around. So this controls the beginning point where the lightning originates. There's a second target, which is the contextual control. The lightning attempts to start from this control and go through this control. So if I grab the contextual control and move this around, and you can see that over here in the effect controls, contextual control is changing as I drag this around, we can sort of control the direction of the lightning. Now there are a lot of controls in the effect controls for the lightning. I want to come down here and play with a few of the options down here toward the bottom: turbulence, forking, and decay. The turbulence controls how sporadic the lightning looks. Higher numbers make the lightning more sporadic, and lower numbers make the lightning less sporadic. So you can come in here and drag those settings up and down. I'm going to drag this up to somewhere around 92, about right there. Next is the forking. This controls how often the lightning will split from its origin. If I increase this, we'll see more and more forks being created, up to 100%. Or if I come down here and bring this all the way down to 0, we get a single fork from the origin through the contextual control. And finally, we have the decay setting. So I'll come in here and bring the forking up a little bit so we can see the forks being created. And the decay works a lot like music notes, where once the fork is created, how long does the forked item take until it disappears? So if we come in here and increase the decay, that means the forked items will decay or go away quicker. So as I drag this higher, you'll see that all of the forked items will disappear much more quickly. And then if I drag the decay down to a lower number, this means the items will not decay. So if I bring this down to 0, every forked item will stay on the screen the entire time. And at the bottom of the lightning strike, all of the forked items that are not decaying will then start to build up and create this really intense hotspot down at the bottom. So for this illustration, I'm going to come back to the forking settings. I'm going to bring this down to about 26 or 27, right about here. We're going to bring the decay up, about 81. I'll increase the turbulence a little bit. I'm also going to come down here and grab the contextual control. I'm going to drag this over, and I want to see some of the lightning in sort of this negative space here. Then let's come over to the glow settings. Let's toggle these open. For the glow radius, I'm going to increase this a little bit. So if I increase this a lot, you can see this creates a glow around the lightning. I'm going to bring this down to about 56. So I'll just type that in. For the glow opacity, I'm going to bring this down to about 29%. And then let's come over here to the glow color. I'll click on the swatch. I'll set the base color to a medium orange. And then I'll come up here and just select a lighter orange color. So something about right here. And then I'll come over here and click OK. And now with my lightning created, let's come down to the timeline panel. Let's grab the solid. Let's click and drag. And I'm going to drag this behind the layer called kaiju.ping. This way the lightning will appear in the background. Now I used these techniques to add lightning to Race's illustration. Then I created a web-based animation from these assets for the Adobe Max conference. And this animation was used to promote Russell Brown's pre-conference session titled The Kaiju Project. I also used JavaScript to randomize the different lightning strikes and to randomize the raindrops that were falling on the monster.